Saw a face from my childhood days, a smiling girl, not a friend, milky red, funny face, smiling smiles, mother and son stood by a dead.
Truth lies in the middle, and you forgot that God has plenty fish in the ocean to sea. We'll find it when it falls apart. Your deprivation for the waiting of the rifle declared upon your presence, the light of death and darkness, illuminated for the shining upon your sunrise. And summer nights and moons aglow to find the direction. Nocturnal condition to seek out your conversation in the new day with the gratitude, the coordinating the movement with the significant other. The way for this has been able to overlook the underlying truth and the foundation of life, and no secret to the game, but it's a sequence to find the patterns and turmoil. Never define adversity, forgive for the good, appreciate that there's the owner. Certification to define the foot close to seeking rights taken. Left is that for the hope of the love, and forsaken the never the time to define a part of a pizza and inspire that for its aspiration. Design, dissolution, conclude, expedited for the inverted, ongoing, hollow, though dense, and this the first attraction to be seen as forgotten to be a part for the statement. Now shall constitute for the necessary information to be at least engaged to that for the dress in the crowd for the interest of the mediocre principle for the exchange for one's gratitude for the adjustment, the attitude to conclude you'll consider I can find that with her. Never to read that for the what's the store for the corner store, looking for the death of the be cute enough for the person to vacate your sucking about the vacuum, but evacuated, evaluated for the just to be the rated, they hated the state of the what you meant to say to find a sacred sacrament of a dimension that attention for the length of windows of blind, the secret for the seams designed to find a short guide for the never crusty with the confined away. Second for the thought, non divine, a rebound for the hunter, for the hunt to catch up for the fast with the printer, the revolution of the revoke your westernized, we're unconstitute and concentrate. Courthouse to define the noise and corridors and courtrooms to know for the dressing of the language of this how to talk for the mention of the conflict to wait for the procrastinator enough for the cast to hate the words to find the words to hate to find the deaths of the issue. Faith, fatalities, and the allies and goes the lines and all the lazy around for the square of the all straight the mind to find the money for the alimony for the people to celebrating the celebration. Dictate to the master debate for the catfish the behind the shadow of the waters, the behind the battle fish with the bone for the boneless and never the hollow hearted the filleted this up in the little way. Lingered after the finger between that dim for the loser, for the smarter the winner, for the he can hear the win, for this is no win, when and how to this is winner, for the win now, for the whenever you can find it dearly, separating your race so not to find a rat, rhetorical for the enough of the rivals to get a revenge and vegans and bound a vengeance, vent to beat the that the opposing opposition, for the opinion that initially compliments that the complaint, complied and complicated for enough to compel, communication to come on like comments and meant to calm down, for the confidence to be alone. Stored the stock, not the stack of shit, but this is shattered upon the shattered glass glossary for the lips. So this will be looked upon the wood, the stuck down for the struck down for the man, for the minuscule. Or put an for the death for the catching the word, the face, the catch the code, to catch up your live for the situation you got it caught down for the line download, all laundry. This will become a guilt. Shape to the fit for the awareness and critique yourself for the participant, for the mirrors, the backgrounds, the back talk, the backstab, and those who bled to find the backstage and over audience and believing it's really over with the police and shoulder for the showering over the show. For not even the competence of the complete your compensation for the text, the interest in whatever's got the greedy game and find the greatest show on earth with no circumstance, but there's no circus and no energy. No circulation for the no circle to box seats for the criteria for the critics to criticize yourself for this to belong to the boutiques and botox and the bows and find the bows and the eyebrows. Flow for the face of the back, for the faucet for the fault, for the vein for the dye, for the dehydrate for your breathe, for the hate, hide the hate, exact, the spark for the intention. The damn lines that was the day for the diary, for the death for this eating no letters, for the paperback for the cover, the piggy banks of the break, the water for the breakup, for the reality, for the relationship that sunk, and that was the water that was shut off, for the cover to find the aqueduct, the gate. Proving the innocent for the innocence and the money for the ending of the case of the briefly carried out the weight. Time to find the media, to count the money to find the executed for the exodus, the accepticon, for this the concept for the deception, for the decency, for the deceit, for the decent, the sentence, and the century for the sense of the port, the perfume, the funeral, the fumigate, or something enough for the noun, for the words together, for the partially living, for the partitions that find the participate enough for the unity, for the entice yourself with entitlement. Lose the season championships of chimpanzees and champagne, those amounts of pain to find the champion, had to get drunk enough for the rain. Anticipation for the stage and down the stank, down the stab, the states and claims without the clan, the spam, over the email for the patriot, or the letter for the spells, the cast, the the cast, and this programs are programmed for the appetites for the instantly. On way to your Instagram for the picture, for the breastfeeding, for the breathtaking, you can kill yourself protecting for the ignorance and the negotiating. Rants and boats, the boots, the kids, the boots, the seats, the boots, the booty for the picture, for the picture, for the fact that it can be drunk enough for the end of the water, the spinning, go over the whenever they need to. Negate the negative, for the abbreviate the absent of negotiating notions and notice now for the note, for it was left and not for thought, for this is scheming over the skeptic. Decode enough for the karma for the circulating over the current curriculum for the corresponding. Give dust in the water for the pondering and enough for the thought that they're all about the elaborate. Ways of the plane, the hangman hung over the dry humor for the human, the middleman for the cunning over the animal style. They'd have to find to draw you long lines of men. Your true lies in you, and you got that God has plenty fish in the ocean to sea. And we'll find it when it falls apart. Your deprivation for the waiting of the arrival declared upon your presence, the light of death and darkness illuminated for the shining upon your summer rising, summer nights and moons aglow to find the direction. Nocturnal condition to seek out your conversation for the new day with the gratitude, the coordinating the movement with the significant other. The way for this has been able to overlook the underlying truth and foundation of life, and no sequence to the game, but it's a sequence to find the patterns and turmoil. Never define that birth certificate for the real appreciated after lives the only. Certification to define the footnotes of seeking rights taken. Left is that for the hope for the love, and forsaken and never the time to define a murder for the future, then inspired after the exasperation. Design, dissolution, conclude, expedited for the inverting, ongoing, hollow, though denser, this the first attraction to be seen as forgotten to be a part for the statement. Now she'll constitute for the necessary information to be at least engaged after addressing the crowd for the interest of the mediocre principle for this change for once, gratitude for the adjustment, the attitude to conclude you'll consider I can find it as illiterate. And never to read that for the what's the store for the corner store looking for the death for the be cute enough for the person to vacate your suck in the mouth of the vacuum, but the evacuate the evaluated for the just to be the rated they hated the state of in you can meant to say to find a sacred sacrament. Sacrament of a dimension and attention for the length of windows to the blind, sticking for the scenes designed to find a shortcut for another question to find a way. Second for the thought, line to find a rebound for the hunter for the hunt, catch up for the back. I make Salat Allah at home alone. With me, myself, and me for the be together as one. For the combine into a whole. For the bad, for the discipline, the righteousness. For the literate, for the bad, for the man manipulation. For the population control. For the lies and truth. Standing outside the lines of space and time. And those who find and watch and won't watch to stop and not to tell the stopwatch. Words for eating the digestion, gestures. And just in case the heart burns the world, the biggest heart will play the video of your belt for the top play. Plagiarism for the kingship. Imperialism for the person, impersonating in the day for the those who be the OJs and bluebirds and tongue play for the rest of the behind the bars and 3, 6, and 9s and pollinated for the inner interpretation, the oracles and history behind the version. Come on, away, not to make the lonely, not for the alone. Offering the not for the benevolence and non-violence and not for the permanently active, temple over the temple. You can find the esoteric to be told that between mills and righteousness and literate for the rules of fed to find the man benevolent, combine the place of control your space and time. I make Salat Allah at home alone. With me, myself, and we could be together as one. For the combine into a whole. For the bad, for the discipline, the righteousness. For the literate, for the bad, for the man manipulation. For the population control. For the lies and truth. Standing outside the lines of space and time. And those who find and watch and won't watch to stop and not to tell the stopwatch. Words for eating the digestion, gestures. And just in case the heart burns the world, the biggest heart will play the video of your belt for the top play. Plagiarism for the kingship, and imperialism for the personality, or impersonating in the day for the those who be the OJs and bluebirds and tongue play for the rest of the behind the bars and 3, 6, and 9s and pollinated for the inner interpretation of the oracles and history behind the version. I'm I'm on my way. Not to make the loan, and not for the loan. Offering and not for the benevolence and non-violence and not for the criminally act, the temporary for the temperate. You can find the esoteric to be told that between those and righteousness and literate for the rules and fed, found the man benevolent to find a place to control your space and time. But on the dependency and not to be paid, and you choose them the junkie like the party depend. You can make ass out of you and us. This is YouTube for the easily sleep in the REM and the remedies to remain maintaining your suntan from the weed oil up with the dry the bones for illusion, the conclusion of honor be deterred. Till determined enough for the ignorant and minded be determined for enough for the said that rooms. Too hot enough for the shape that joint inside the ligament for the dimension you will define a dimension to commence in yourself for the fencing the borders. Creates a religion define defense. Put down defense of relying upon intelligent obesity for the obedience and the allegiance, for the alignment for the atonement, for the monopolize those of capital punishment, for the poverty for the poets, and sears it over the sight to being the blind. Opposite of rhythm in the spirit, you can forgive me for the supplement to find the supper for my daily bread and body I can find supposing. It was not that she made it for God. It's restored to over. Give us plenty of resources we need for the rich and spirituality, for the morality, for the unity to thrive, sustain enough for the integrity and the longevity on earth, and as it was in art and heaven, no difference in never than nothing, not to find the hype and hypocrisy. Considering the co-man and enough for the conditions and control the confessions and conflict for the conceited enough to be complex and wait to find the life and decided in for the rather to done. Importing the animals in the garden, the space and energy for the spirit and seeking harmony for the lure, love, the intentions and innovative for the inventive for the Krishna sun, anointing for the cross of the paint, the pointing and honor for the merit for the purity for the departing your blind seats and seats and those of transatlantic. Atlantis removing Africa with the God in our sacred body of indigenous origin to be virgins and not Virgo for vigorous and vigilantes and vigilism, like upon imperialism comet. Commit to that for the communism, for the segregation of communities, and commencing over the unity divine intentions not to hurt yourself or love of self and most and bond divine creative source of the sunlight. Sustain itself for the seed, for the disease, the deer, for the far side, for the source, or beyond that forehead, for the forefathers and who passed the empires. Generation not to be lost or founded, for the rather found dead, seeking this is life for John Jackson, man of prophecy, stand before the pros of propaganda for the genders of the system of the stem cells, and bind the mind and die institutionalized a criminal for the faith. Fair to their errors around the rest of that transgressions, agreed to aggressively acts and course to find a course ship converted for the corrupt and disruption for the distractions of track. Lack of focus and hocus and spells to prevent the liberation, the independence for the free, for the demanding for the exploitation of the nations in two religions. Religion and realignment for the meaning and applies that for the application to life, for the righteousness of the humankind, for the question, but enough for the current events and currency, the dependence on the substance, of the ignorance and oxymoronic for the expulsion. Yourself as a martyr for evolving daughters and concept for revealing your revolutions of the constitution. So I can find what's not intuitive for the power of the numbers and lesser that for the intuitive additive. Subtract your retractions, ignorance and never to offer benevolence. Violence of the liars is standing up and lie down for the with us of the land is up for the have no rights and righteousness and conduct yourself for the we are one. We're all the developing your contractions and we're all there for the completion of circles and siphons and circumference and enough for the without defenses there's not a need for the defense of the senses your sense. Unison the undivided for the attention and attracting your attributes and rebuttals for attribution. I can find a constitution subtle the folly enough that you could be the death of the Molly, I could be the drug and you could be the Salvador Dali. Love ways to give it to you as part of my verb and my action. I can describe that garden of truth, the rivers that baptize, wash, light, deterrent, to wash you, the time for the detriment, for the determined debate, infantry for the brainwashing sheep, the fantasize, and belittling for the shepherds of Atlantis, the last lamb for the valleys of death, the scent to cast, the Lucifers, the Mars, and Luciferians, and Mars, the clip of wings of Mars and Mars will fly by, the swat, the sweat, to find a moment for the wall, the street that occupied the American pies. Diabetes and those that find a bet. This is a street for the occupied American. This is biblical instructions of the chapters and chastise the oppositions. Wars of spirits can't hear no better cry for Christ and crusaders from crucified to the standoffs and lies and capitalize that for the letters for the us to pride. Uncle Sam to Sumerian tablets that 10 commandments that patriarch of the ark of the archives and that was the never art. Concerned of that for the contractions and never the longevity for the never to be the art. Encourage the enterprise to Star Trek, the art, the stars of this, the interest, surprise, surplus, serpents, oblivious, and never to live for the obsolete, for the soul, for the shoes of the souls, to deprive us. Earth's magnetic energy, Mars and their lies and the allies, rally infinite up for the line for the low ants and hills and pharmaceuticals, and this will be the platforms and Russell Simmons and Death Jams and Death Comedy for the medias and medians and middle grounds and midnight for they make over the red overseas. Staffs Moses to mountains, maintaining tan lines that marks the tally marks left behind, abusing relationship, distinct integrity for the intelligence and the gently. Find an agenda, impressive the irony of the icons, the passage, this baton for the pollination of a political, the grounds and background to find the grounds of grievance. Inevitably, any evil doers and ability to enable yourself with insinuators and the senators and bring them formal enough that I find it abnormal benefit to not to be exactly exempt. Except that for the example, they imply what's the implications, the incomplete for the complete, and take time to place in the underground, the undergarments, and blind, and organizing genocide, even the apple cider in the vein. Reliability for the this will be the reliance of pride of parades and find the sure rates of radical to the sunken relationship. I can rise opinions and tears of cries and create the courage to rage against the machine. Defense and campaigns and to find the hurt inside the sprite to find the spite that this is a river to draw the chalk on outlines, a dead body for the sidewalks on Hollywood and holograms to scale. Wait, coming across and anticipate your constitute. Constant control of change, reframe, demoralize, denote words to transcribe, scribble scraps to die to scrape and buy for dry bystanders are standing by for the bipolar for the barely standing rate relate. Relish to relief, leaves turned over to the leftists and leftovers and all the levels of project inside for the inside of the sliding on slides to slid. Slightly tight knitted for the notarized, the rise after the rose of the Sabbath day for the insubordinate for the supporter to subject yourself for the substitute, the submission, bliss. Intervention, venting, vengeance, Venus, next.
It's not the land, is it? It's the thought of settling that troubles you and always has.
We belong to one place, one country. We belong to one place, one country. We belong to one place, one country. Never have.
It's not the land, is it? It's the thought of settling that troubles you and always has.
Our people have never belonged to one place, one country. Never have. Never will.
You never will. But one day soon there will be nowhere left to go. The borders are closing, the railroads are coming.
Ways
Soon there'll be no need for the caravan.
give it to you
Until that time
as
comes,
part of my verb and my action.
we'll take care of our people.
I love ways to give it to you as part of my verb and my action. I could describe that garden of truth, the rivers that baptize, wash like deterrent, to wash you to time for the detriment, for the determined, the fate. Infantry for the brainwashing sheep, the fantasizing, belittling for the shepherds of Lannis, the last lamb for the valleys of death, the scent to cast, the Lucifers, the Mars and Luciferians, and Mars, the clip of wings of Mars and Mars to fly by. Swat the sweat to find a moment for the wall of the street to occupy the American pies. Diabetes and those to find a bet. This is the street for the occupied American. This is biblical instructions of the chapters and chastise the oppositions. Wars of spirits can hear the battle cry for Christ and crusaders from crucified to the standoffs and lies and capitalize that for the letters for the us to pride. Uncle Sam to Sumerian tablets that 10 commandments that pray to York the ark of the archives, and that was the never earned concern to that for the contractions and never the longevity for the never to be the art. Encourage the enterprise to start trek to R the stars of this the interest surprise surplus serpents oblivious and never to live for the obsolete for the soul for the shoes of the souls to deprive us. Earth's magnetic energy, marginalized and allies, rarely infinite enough for the line for the low ants and hills and pharmaceuticals, and this will be the fat farms and Russell Simmons and death jams and death comedy for the medias and medians and middle grounds and midnight for to make over the red overseas. Staffs Moses to mountains, maintaining tan lines that marks the tally marks and left behind, abusing relationship, distinct integrity for the intelligence and the gently. Find an agenda, impressive the irony of the icons, the passage, this baton for the pollination of a political, the grounds and background to find the grounds of grievance. Inevitably, any evil doers and ability to enable yourself with insinuators and the senators and bring them formal enough that I find it abnormal benefit to not to be exactly exempt. Except that for the example, they imply what's the implications, the incomplete for the complete, and take time to place in the underground, the undergarments, and the blind, and organizing genocide, even the apple cider in the vein. Reliability for the this will be the reliance of pride of parades and find the sure rates of radical to the sunken relationship. I can rise opinions and tears of cries and create the courage to rage against the machine. Defense and campaigns and to find the hurt inside the sprite to find the spite that this is a river to draw the chalk on outlines, a dead body for the sidewalks on Hollywood and holograms to scales. Wait, coming across and anticipate your constitute. Constant control of change, reframe, demoralize, denote words to transcribe, scribble scraps to die to scrape and buy for dry bystanders are standing by for the bipolar for the barely standing rate relate. Relish to relief, leaves turned over to the leftists and leftovers and all the levels of project inside for the inside of the sliding on slides to slid. Slightly tight knitted for the notarized, the rise after the rose of the Sabbath day for the insubordinate for the supporter to subject yourself for the substitute, the submission, bliss. Intervention, venting, vengeance, Venus, next, news, tight, nosy, privacy, privately, provided, provocative, invocate your avocation over the vocational vocalist, and imitate your limitation for the limelight, for the lakeside, for the line to obtuse and usable patterns and operating your opposing or opposite for the opponent, for the you can find the faith for the meat, the depth upon the feet, the meet, the metal with the meters, and the mate to masquerade the male. Male masquerade the mask. I'm not the made to face a mess. I'm to make up the mess and face it. This is made to mirage and rage to find a re-announcement for the right measurement for the meant to go manipulate for the sooner than never, the master, the maker, the beak. Missing the plate for the shaking, the quake, the fake, to find the fake, to dapper, take the opportunity to rake the leaves and leads the snake to rake. Sneaking and sneaking enough for the leaking the lattes and laying over the layers and over the find the areola for the granola for the Nova, to taking the wake, debate, to break, to find a relate, to relocate for the mold, to respond to the re-break. And spectate for the specific stakes to find the stack, the state to find a take a break from faster to fast. This the fake feet for the step that you can take the break to find the suppression, the quality for the question. You can make many moons to find a crate. Crap on the creek, the streets to find the state for the secret for the I can find a manipulator for the plate for the scrape to find the scraps, the script to find the screen. Scrape that for the rather for the break for the rate, the plate, the related for the relates and for the tardiness and tyranny, and traits and those to find the trapping bait for the beat, the rebate for the rebuilding, a rebuttal for but the reply for the plays, applying place and palladium polka dots and knights and for the protection of a presentation for the prejudice and dice. Price to find the preachers pay their offering to the pretender to privately over the notarizing yourself for baptizing you. Washing and not the Holy Spirit, for this would be the template of sin, for this insinuating those of the internal thought, for the intermittent food for thought, for weaker way to understanding of the debt, but weight was lost. So this is found in oligarchs eating only to apply the Applebee's and pollinate. And interpretations, fulfilling the spirit with the mystical timelines and timeouts. Truth and historical oracles and history and only versions in nutrition, alphabetical alpha, the megas and omens without the ribcage to beat the creative for the enrichment of poor quality for the poor back, Buddha the bailies and it was symbolizing the Siddhartha, the heart attack for the vowels and dilta brutal for the belly for the just the sanctuary for the inspired the spirit to make a salam salah alone. This is the place